On page 30, course overview. This course is designed to help students develop an intersectional and global understanding of the impact of race and racism, ethnicity, and culture in the shaping of individuals and communities in the United States. They will learn about the interlocking systems of oppression and privilege that impact all peoples. I'll read that again. They will learn about the interlocking systems of oppression and privilege that impact all peoples. This is the anti-white narrative, ladies and gentlemen. Ethnic Studies Model Curriculum, Chapter 3, Instructional Guidance for K through 12 education. And this is taking place all over the country right now. We have parents reaching out from different states, Georgia and Pennsylvania, for example, that are now seeing a new term in the school documentation that is coming home. And it's intercultural. This is interracial, just like multicultural is multiracial. They intend to force interracial ideas under the name of intercultural onto your white babies in education, private and public schools. Make sure you are on top of this. Inoculate your children with going free. There is no other way. This has worked magic, and it will continue to work magic. And we have the second iteration of the second edition coming very soon. Students will be exposed to a multimedia, a multitude of histories, perspectives, and cultures, with the goal of students being able to build critical, analytic, and intercultural, ladies and gentlemen, there it is, communication skills, developing an understanding of geohistorical and cultural knowledge and contributions, fostering of humanism and collaboration across lines of difference, learning the value and strength of diversity. Of course, what does diversity mean? It means dyssynergy. It means white erasure. It means biological white erasure. And you're seeing right here, coast to coast, north to south, intercultural, new mean pathogens sweeping the Western world, used only sparingly here and there, now seemingly omnipresent on the whim of anti-white oligarchs, I would imagine. Learning the value and strength of diversity and developing a rigorous historical understanding of the development of racial and ethnic identities in the United States, and engaging in civic action, community service, and or community education to bring positive change that helps build a future society free of the anti-white slur, racism, and other forms of bigotry associated with the anti-white slur, white supremacy, white nationalism, and institutional racism. I'll read that again, ladies and gentlemen. Again, this is on page 30. You would have to dig through this document to see what we have pulled out for you and are delivering to you, a value that you are not going to find elsewhere. Make sure that folks get this information. Make sure that they know what is happening here, and make sure, most importantly, that this information is used correctly. It's not used for gallows glee. It's not for going out onto Twitter or Gab or Facebook or VK and saying that you have the newest horror story first, and that it is the most horrible of the horror stories, so that you can have some sort of happiness, some sort of satisfaction by having the most disgusting story. No, this is something you cite to help introduce going free to your brothers and sisters, so that they too can get inoculated and can start going free, so that they too can protect their children from this intercultural, interracial. Ladies and gentlemen, when it's intercultural today, tomorrow they're going to demand that all of your relationships are interracial. And we've already seen that in the documents leading up to the election. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. And community education to bring positive change that helps build a future society free of racism. Who commits racism in the anti-white narrative? Only one group. Don't you dare say anti-white racism. Don't you dare use any of their verbiage. What happens when you use their verbiage, ladies and gentlemen? When you use their verbiage, you legitimize their ideology. Community education that helps build a future society free of racism and other forms of bigotry associated with white supremacy, white nationalism, and institutional racism. Who is the bad guy in this story, ladies and gentlemen? This is not a one-off. Do not look at this as a one-off. Do not look at this as a shocker. Do not look at this as just the California state education system. This is happening in Pennsylvania. Already I'm getting these documents, and in Georgia and elsewhere. We're going to jump over to page 10. This approach to ethnic studies teaching is also echoed in the California history social science framework, underscoring one of the 4 important instructional shifts: citizenship, which is needed to prepare all members of American society, regardless of citizenship status. Did you hear that? To prepare all members of American society, regardless of citizenship status. So we're talking now about a lot of people crossing borders, wearing astronaut costumes, who can have any number. They can have this status or that status. They could be an American. They cannot be an American. To become civically engaged in our democratic society. We're going to jump down to the bottom of this paragraph because we're not going to waste your time, ladies and gentlemen, to get to the meat of this material. Furthermore, these types of activities are appropriate for an ethnic studies course as they provide a lens for students to identify institutional, structural inequalities, advocate for change at the local, state, national, or international level, and engage in healthy debate and dialogue with their peers. What is this doing to students in the American educational systems, public and private? It is turning them into anti-white foot soldiers. It said it right there. Page 21. Ultimately, this course considers the development of Black identity in the United States and explores the importance African Americans played in the formation of the United States, the oppression they faced, the exploitation of Black labor, and the continued fight for liberation. Folks, what have I said so many times that so many folks have come to me and said, no one has ever told me, no one has ever talked about it like that. What do I say? When the anti-whites talk about the oppression that African Americans faced, the exploitation of Black labor, and their continued fight for liberation, who are the bad guys? Who does this condemn with its statement alone? It is anti-white because you are automatically the villain in that story. Somebody has to be exploiting their labor. Somebody has to be oppressing them. Somebody has to be responsible for them having to continue to fight for liberation. And that somebody is the white race, Western kind. That is why you object to the anti-white narrative when you read that sort of filth. That is what you say to the teachers and principals at your public and private institutions. That is why you pull your children out of these institutions. Because they make you the bad guy. They make your white babies hate themselves as the villains in that tale. And then you teach them to go, forget about all of this, just nationalistic Bravo Sierra. Forget about this. Just tell them that the anti-whites or tell them that they're just leftists. Tell them that they're just woke. Tell them that you are a loser and you are trapped in their narrative and you will remain a loser. And everybody that you are admonishing to behave this way and to look at these things this way are going to themselves going to remain losers until they begin going free as well. This is not funny. This is not the next thing to go share as the most grotesque thing so that you can have satisfaction out of having the most grotesque story. This is something to get very angry about. That you, your family, your babies, everyone you know who is a member of Western kind are the villains who are responsible for African Americans being exploited, being oppressed, and having to continue to fight for liberation. If you live inside that narrative, you are heading for, as swiftly as possible, the South Africanization of the United States that will make South Africa and what they're doing to our brothers and sisters there look like a bed of roses. We're going to jump down, page 27, because we are not going to get you caught up. We have gone through this document, and we have plucked out the most important elements of this document, like this, thanks to our dear sister Carlisle. And all of you and I, we are going to do all that we can to make sure that everyone we know knows about this and that they learn about this as a part of going free. As a wide range of sources, example, literature, court cases, government files, memoirs, art, music, oral histories, and elements of popular culture can be utilized to better understand the experiences of historically disenfranchised groups. Who disenfranchised them? Your little boy, that beautiful little boy, your little girl, that beautiful little girl, those white ones. They are going to be hated more than they are today because they're the ones, their people are responsible, such as Native Americans, African Americans, Chicanos, and Latina, and Asian Americans, and Pacific Islanders, all non-white people. It is the anti-white narrative. How long have I been saying this? There's one set of so-called victims in the anti-white narrative. It's every non-white person, and one victimizer, every white person. This is what it actually says in the document. By the way, the authors of this filth are trying to have their names removed. The anti-white bastards who authored this screed are trying to have their names removed because suddenly they're thinking, whoa, maybe we're moving a little too quickly in essentially saying that every white person in the United States is fill in the blank with what you think they're saying and what they believe that they're saying. Why they feel that they have to have their name, they have to remove their names from this document. Remember, everything we're saying, except for the actual verbiage right out of this document that I'm reading and is available right on the link in the description. You can read it for yourself and you can go to the website, and I'll get that website for everybody. The California Board of Education website. You can get it directly from there. We have it for you. That is all just their document. Everything else is subject to CNN and the anti-whites. Make sure you get a full view by going to a number of different channels and by listening to MSNBC and the like, so that you have a well-rounded view of how viciously anti-white the world is. We're going to jump down a couple more paragraphs. We're jumping by the garbage. There's a lot of garbage. There's a lot of filler in here. You got to get to the meat of it. That's what we're giving to you here. I could make a seriously ribald joke right there. Students can also personalize their study by considering how their personal and or family stories connect to the larger historical narratives and how and why some narratives have been privileged over the others. So you see that? White little Johnny, white little Julie. We're going to talk about, and everybody's going to be studying in this class, public and private, across the United States and across the entire Western world. We're going to be studying how you are evil. How you, and really what they're after when they say this, that you're privileged, is that you have to give up. You have to surrender. You have to be deferential. You have to get on your back and open your legs. You have to get on your knees and open your mouth. You have to give your job up. You have to give your citizenship up. You have to give everything you have up in the world because it's unbalanced in favor of you. So it's not fair. That means you have to give up more and more and more. Don't you see that is the essence of the meme pathogen, the MP, that is privileged in the anti-white narrative? Lastly, students may consider how to improve their own community, what constructive action can be taken, and how they can provide a model for change for those in other parts of the state, country, and world. This is the production of foot soldiers, of anti-white foot soldiers. And at the same time, it is to get your children, your little boys and little girls, to put down their guards so that they can be thieved, so that they can be victimized. Because I tell you what, throughout all of history, and this is the reality of the world, every group has tried to dominate every other group. Nature has tried to dominate every group. Wild animals has tried to dominate every group. Disease has tried to dominate every group. The whims of the climate have tried to dominate every single group. And every time that all of these forces endeavored to destroy Western kind, we prevailed. One thing has defeated us, and it is the ideas that have caused us to lower our guard. One of the primary authors, who now wants his name removed from the document, stated in an interview in the LA Times, quote, "The ultimate goal is to engender a counter-genocide against the hegemonic, Eurocentric, neo-colonial condition," close quote. This is quoted in the LA Times. So you can check with CNN whether or not it is quoted in the LA Times, but the LA Times quoted one of the authors of this anti-white Sierra that is designed to be a poison to biologically white erase Western kind. To biologically white erase us. The author says so. The ultimate goal is to ingest. So I got all of this word vomit on this document. All of these ideas that this author and others have put down that's going to go into the curriculum for K through 12 in California and across the United States and around the world. We're seeing the same thing show up. And the author is one of the authors is openly saying what the objective is. It is not some eudaimonia. It's not some anti-white eudaimonia, peace, love, and happiness somewhere. Don't mock it and think you've done something. Jumping by some more of the baffle-gabbing, some more of the pretexts, some more of the pretenses. Oh, all these other groups are so harmed. They've been so oppressed. They are so harmed. They are so oppressed. Who's the bad guy? Well, your people. Who has to pay? Well, your people. Who has to be biologically white erased? Well, your people. But we've got some great excuses to legitimize it. Well, foxtrot yourself straight to hell. The use of the thematic approach to teaching ethnic studies is incredibly generative as students are able to consider an array of inquiry-based questions, from more overarching questions around racial formation and their own ancestral legacies to more focused inquiries that may address issues in their communities, like a public health inquiry that is being exacerbated because of the racial and or class makeup. Did you hear that? Are you getting this much detail anywhere else? Suggesting that the racial makeup of too many white people is exacerbating inequality, that it is making non-white people unhealthy, that the reason why non-white people are unhealthy, the reason they get a disease, the reason that they get any hardship, diabetes or whatever it is, ultimately is fed, according to these people, by the racial and or class makeup. Who's the bad group in this? The author has let you know in the LA Times. Throughout the course, each unit and lesson plan should be founded on the guiding values and principles of ethnic studies as described in Chapter 1. Number 1, cultivate empathy, but not for white people. No, you can't be empathetic for them. Community actualization, some more baffle-gabbing. Cultural perpetuity for everybody's culture except for Western kind. Because remember, in the anti-white narrative, Western kind has no culture. Self-worth, self-determination. And so what are they going to be teaching white people self-worth? They will, but only insofar as you are anti-white and victimizing your own people, hating yourself. Imagine doing this to babies. We would never do this to non-white children. This is the most disgusting garbage The anti-whites are pure demons on planet Earth. That they would do this to our white babies. That any white person would put up with this for 2 seconds. And the holistic well-being of all participants, especially Native peoples and Black indigenous people of color, called BIPOC. So the value of non-white people is what is stressed. The non-white children. And the way those little white ones over there, the only way they can have value is if they're anti-white, destroying everything that resonates within them. Everything that their biosphere, their instinct, everything that they are, everything that they create, every mirror they look in, God damn it, they have to wage war against. That's where they get their value. How many people, and do not get off of this stream, get off of this gathering, and then go and just shake your head and say how bad it is and how get fired up, get angry, and spread going free to as many people as you can and as fast as you can. And you can use this to help spread it. There is no taking any governments. There is no violence. We just did the violence video. I'm going to talk about this coming Sunday. There's no voting. There's no violence. Forget about it. The anti-whites dominate Western civilization. They dominate it. There's nothing you can do except go free. There is nothing that works magic, except for going free. Everything else, you're just pissing in the wind. And you're catching it all in your face, and you have your mouth wide open because you love it. Challenge racist, bigoted, discriminatory, imperialist, colonial beliefs and practices on multiple levels. So, to challenge racist, bigoted, discriminatory, imperialist, colonial beliefs and practices on multiple levels. It's getting late. I got to try to be a little quieter. So what does that mean, to challenge these things? I mean, did one of the authors tell you that? Did one of the authors tell you in the LA Times what it means to challenge it? Does it mean biological white erasure? Let's jump on down. Several paragraphs. Some ethnic study teachers begin lessons by acknowledging that they are on non-white, they of course say native, non-white land. What does that mean for the little white boys and little white girls? That they are thieves. That's what it means for them. This is the government of the United States. This is the governments, California, Georgia, Pennsylvania, the institutions. This is how much they hate Western kind. It doesn't become any clearer. If we do not go free, ASAP, if we do not begin getting this out to our brothers and sisters ASAP, if we do not help uncork people's heads from their asses ASAP, the South Africanization of the United States is going to be so swift. And once again, for all of those fools out there that think that, well, if it just gets bad enough, you can go visit South Africa right now if you want bad enough without a solution. There's not going to be any resistance without the psychological defense against the psychological warfare waged against us. And we have it here in Going Free, changing lives. Everything else is a waste of your time. Everything. Acknowledging that you're a thief. That's how we'll start the class. Okay, students, All of you white ones present are thieves. That's how we're going to start. And not only are you just a run-of-the-mill thief, you are genetically a thief. You are generationally a thief. In addition to learning more about the history of migration from these various perspectives, teachers can help facilitate discussions on xenophobia, another meme pathogen, another anti-white slur, and anti-immigrant sentiment. More. See, this is all about the anti-white narrative, while emphasizing the nation's history of being a home for immigrants, the merit-based promises offered by capitalist economy, and the value of having a diverse citizens. Another theme that can be covered in this type of ethnic studies course is systems of power. Teachers can introduce the theme by defining and providing examples of systems of power, which can include exploitative economic systems and social systems like patriarchy, another meme pathogen. This thing has so many meme pathogens. The authors were, I talk about this, ladies and gentlemen, often, that the anti-whites have anti-white professors, we'll just say, of the various types of education, autodidactic education, etc. They have anti-whites who know what they're doing. And by that, I mean they are able to white erase Western civilization, Western kind. They know how to get from here to there. They provide their poison, the instructions, and then they disseminate it by way of anti-white oligarchic money and power in the nodes of power. And then the anti-whites throughout society obey it. What do we have on our side? I've been pushing something that works for decades. And what do we have on this side? I would be willing to bet that there are people watching right now, or who will watch, I know I could definitely say, watch and replay, who are going to say, nope, we should do something else. Something we've been doing and it's been failing all along. Nope, it can't be this. It's got to be something else. Nope, can't be that thing that's working over there. It's got to be another thing over here. Nope, got to create another organization. Nope, got to create another political party. Nope, got to create another flag. Teachers can help facilitate discussions on xenophobia and anti-immigrant sentiment while emphasizing the nation's history of being a home for immigrants, merit-based promises offered by capitalist economy. Another theme that can be covered in this type of ethnic studies course system is systems of power. Teachers can introduce the theme by defining and providing examples of systems of power, which can include exploitative economic systems and social systems like patriarchy. These are structures that have the capacity to control circumstances within economic, political, and or social, cultural contexts. So, are you smart enough to get it there? Any failures by non-white people, the anti-whites who wrote this filth, and the anti-whites who trained the anti-whites who wrote this filth, and the anti-whites who participated in the creation of this filth, whose names never even appeared, because there's always teams with each individual name of an anti-white author has a team behind them working on it with them. What they're saying there is every failure by by a non-white, wherever it is in life, is the white race's fault. All you need to know when you go free, all you need to know what everything that we have said so far here is in what category? Anti-whiteism. Anti-whiteism. Anti-whites are anti-white. What does every single thing in here, as complicated and as complex as these anti-white, just absolute makers of poison, as complicated as it can get, all the baffle-gabbing, all of the 27-letter words. What does it all come down to? Mispretexting, moralized, intellectualized, sentimentalized pretexts to victimize Western kind. That easy to understand? How much easier do I have to make it, for Christ's sake? We're going to jump down. Systems of power can be analyzed using the 4 I's of oppression: ideology, institutional, interpersonal, and intellectualized. And then here we have sample theme number 4, social movements and equality. We're going to jump all the way down and sum up that there are anti-white groups now. It's easy to see what's going to happen here is that violent anti-white groups are going to be taught in schools across the country and around the world as groups that bring about equality, as groups that bring about the nirvana that the anti-whites claim that they're going to be achieving by victimizing white people until we are biologically white erased. In addition to learning more about the history of social movements and the gains achieved through solidarity, activism, civil disobedience, and look there really quickly look at these words: solidarity. If you disagree with them, you are breaking up the solidarity. If you disagree with their civil obedience, if you're not participating in their democratic process, then you are a problem. The anti-white morality. Everything is spelled out quite clearly in Go Free. Don't waste your time anymore elsewhere. In addition to learning more about the history of social movements and the gains achieved through solidarity, activism, civil disobedience, and participation in the democratic process, teachers can help facilitate discussion on resistance to oppression. On resistance to oppression. Who are the oppressors in that story? All right, so do not go out there and when you talk about this, talk about what we've shared here today. Only the things we've shared here today. That's what's in the actual document. You can speculate about, but when you do, say to your audience, maybe the anti-whites will do this. They will interpret it this way, and then they will carry this out in their classrooms, etc. It's logical, but you don't have to don't go out there and say that they're going to have all the children in California come out on some day and they're going to be dressed in garb, Aztec garb, and they're going to be bowing down and singing songs to what was the god's name? I can't even remember. Where is the god's? Tetzcatlipoca. That you all are going to be. They're going to be bowing down to Tetzcatlipoca, and they're going to be begging for X, Y, or Z. Don't go out and say that. You're going to burn your reputation up. You're going to look like a fool. Nobody's going to be interested in going free. You are the message when you bring it to your friends, family, strangers, etc.